Today we have a fantastic and apt topic, which is the future of work. So we know with the introduction of new technologies and innovation, our world is changing every day. And so is the way we live and work. What causes these changes and what are the effects of them? And also, lastly, how will all of this affect everyday Malaysians like you and me? Today, we have a list of expert panelists that will be helping us uncover this phenomenon of the future of work. So let me first introduce our first speaker is Ms. To Beng Siu, who is a CPA counselor, Malaysia division of CPA Australia. She is also the head of Global Finance Services from Experian Malaysia. Hi, Beng Siu.
Hey, hi everyone. How are you?
Next, we have Ms. Shamini N. Jacob, who is the Executive Director of People and Change in Advisory, KPMG. Hi, Ms. Shamini, how are you?
Good, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone.
Puan Malin Ahmad Nordin, the Head of Group Resourcing Center, Maybank. Hi, Puan Malin, always nice to see you.
Hi everyone.
And Mr. Shu, who is the Head of Strategy and Planning from Samsung. Hi, Shu.
Hi, Nada. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all here.
Nice. Ms. Sandra Yam, who is the Talent Management Lead of Shopee. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Nada. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
And Ms. Ko Pek Jin, who is the Country Head, Talent Management and OD of UOB Bank. So, hi, Pek Jin, how are you?
Hi, Nada. Good. Hello, everyone.
I must say that I'm very privileged to see that we have quite a diverse range of panelists, so you can give different views. And I think Ms. Beng Siu is also from a more technical angle and point of view. So I'm looking forward to today's session, basically. But before we start, I would like us to get to know our panelists a little bit more about what they do and their backgrounds. So I'll start off with Ms. Beng Siu, if you don't mind. Maybe you can share a little bit about what you do, from having a CPA background and also from Experian.
Yeah, thanks, Nadia. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Beng Siu. I've almost going to be 30 years working experience. I have in my entire career been with technology companies, right? I was with IBM for many of those years, and now I'm with Experian, a data information services company, right? So I'm very excited to share from a technology perspective, right? How, it's impacting everyone's future, not just future of work, but in our personal lives as well. So I'm also very engaged with CPA Australia because I'm also a fellow with CPA Australia. I'm part of their divisional council supporting the global business services or centralization of support structures, right, into certain locations. So I've been in IBM previously, helping IBM in Asia Pacific startup its centralization of work, right, into Malaysia. And with that experience as well, I'm currently leading CPA Australia's Shared Service Global Business Services Committee, right, where we are, as a group, very passionate about sharing all the opportunities that comes, right, with global business services, centralizing work, and how it creates opportunities, in Malaysia, for example. We are trying to bring in foreign direct investment, bringing jobs and services is basically one of those ways. And I think it's no longer so traditional, in the past, if a finance and accounting graduate comes out and thinks firstly and only about, an audit firm, right? Big Four, that's exposure as well for our people to be able to explore shared services, centralization and all that, because it brings with it a lot of transformation, right? It's leading edge, helping the company transform and become more cost effective as well as efficient. So that's the majority of my background. I have also, other than helping a lot with setting up of shared service centers and running them, I have also been part of IBM Malaysia as the CFO, right? So I hope to be able to having the experience both as a customer, internal customer, who knows how to run the business and supporting clients and all that, work with this internal support structures like global business services, as well as being a provider of that service, right, to our internal stakeholders. So having that balance, I think, is great. Hopefully that enables us as an organization, as a company, to bring ourselves to the next level. And I'm sure, having so many of my colleagues out there in this industry as well, we can help bring Malaysia, right, to that next level in continuing to be, right now we are third, we've been third for a long time behind China and India, right? So I think we have to be very proud of that as Malaysians. And I hope this will bring us together to see this area of opportunity again, right, as part of future of work now, and continuing very much into the more distant future as well. Yes, thank you, Nada.
Yeah, thank you. I totally agree with you. I think Malaysians are really good at coming together and achieving something, something they truly believe in. So let's do that. This is where everything is headed, right? Okay, Miss Shamini, hi.
Hi.
Please share a little bit more about what you do in KPMG.
Okay, so Beng Siu, I think I'm about your age as well, because I'm about 30 years working experience as well. I've been in KPMG for a total of about 14, 15 years now. I think, I was in KPMG and then I went to another consulting firm and then I came back, but throughout my career, I think for the first 3 or 4 years was when I tried accounting and HR operations, which is actually what my degree is all about. I've got a degree, Bachelor of Business, majoring in accounts and business computing. Ask me if I'm using my degree now, the answer is no, which talks very much into the future of work, which is the topic today. Okay, so, but I must say I enjoyed my studies, but having to actually experience it once I started working, I found that my brain was not wired to do HR operations or accounting. Which is why I was lucky enough to go into a consulting role. So I've been a consultant for about 20 plus years, 25 years, if I think, my maths is correct. Yeah. So about 25 years consulting, HR consulting, went through almost all the larger consulting firms. Like I said, was in KPMG, left KPMG, decided I liked KPMG, came back, and now I lead what's known as the People and Change team here in Malaysia. And as the name suggests, we do consulting work surrounding people and the changes that people will go into. So we do things like organization design, talent management, workforce optimization, and a big part of what we do is also behavioral change management, where we look at the changes from a behavioral or competency aspect that is needed within an organization. So our focus is pretty much on those things. So we do have a lot of collaboration with our IT team, our, the other service functions in KPMG. We do a lot of collaboration for our clients around transformation and so on. And as what Beng Siu is saying, Malaysia has a lot of potential, and we need our graduates to come back to Malaysia and help us reach that potential that will ultimately be the best for Malaysia. So I'm looking forward to this session, and I hope whatever we tell you all today resonates with you, and you never know, we may meet each other in some point through our work and so on.
Yeah. Thanks, Ms. Shamini. For Marlene?
Hi, I'm Marlene. I'm with Group Resourcing Center, or in other words, it's Group Recruitment Center for the bank. So my team handles recruitment from internships to up to C-level position. And so basically day in, day out, that's our job. My job, I meet a lot of students, I talk to a lot of talents, and basically to promote the bank, to promote career with us. So I've been with Maybank for 15 years, but only the past 5 years is in HR recruitment. Previously, I was most of my career, also above more than 30 years. Most of it is in cards business, credit card, debit card. I was doing cards marketing with Maybank. Before that, I was with American Express and a short time with HSBC. All the while in cards business, and just the past 5 years promoting the bank and career with the bank. So very glad to be here with all the panel and looking forward to a good conversation today. Thanks.
Thanks, Marlene. Shu.
Thanks, Nada. Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to you all. My name is Shu Ziyu. It is a tongue twister, so a lot of people just call me Shu, Kasut, Shu. So that's how I usually introduce myself. What I'm doing here, it's a long name, it's strategy and planning, but to simplify it, it is whatever that the other HR Center of Excellence doesn't do, falls under my portfolio. So rolling out new projects, working with young people, speaking to young people like you guys this afternoon, employer branding, workforce planning. So yeah, it's the etceteras of HR. So yeah, nothing glorified. It's just a lot of work, and I kind of enjoy it. So I don't have 30 years of experience to speak about, but I started off my career in a bank, in a yellow bank that is represented here today. So I know Puan Marlene pretty well. And I'm here in Samsung right now, coming to 3 years. And yeah, I think it'll be a pleasure to speak to you, all of you, this afternoon. So back to you, Nada. Thank you.
Thanks, Shu. Sandra?
Hi. Hi, everyone. So I'm Sandra. I'm currently the lead for talent management in Shopee Malaysia. I'm also definitely not as tenured as the other panelists here today. So I'm also very excited to learn from everyone here. I do see some similarities in my background as well compared to everyone else. So I am also a business, accounting and finance graduate. And I started out my career as a consultant with Accenture previously before joining Shopee over 3 years ago when Shopee was still pretty much unknown, as part of the commercial team, the business team, where I was running a category, specifically the fashion category in Shopee. So I'm sure Shopee is no stranger to anyone listening, or at least I hope not. But as Shopee continues to grow and expand, I guess I realized my passion in talent and how important our talents are in ensuring the success of our growing organization, which is why I am where I am today. So my team's focus is really on similar like Puan Marlene, ensuring the sustainability and retention of our talents in the organization. So this includes like end-to-end management of recruitment, of development programs, and I also speak to many students or career seekers alike. And yeah, today I hope I'll be able to share a bit more about e-commerce, how e-commerce continues to expand and grow, and possibly be an exciting career opportunity for those listening as well, and for the future workforce.
Thanks, Sandra. And Big Jin.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Nada. I'm
Hi.
Jean. I am somewhere between the 30 years and the very young Shu and Sandra.
You're in the middle, right?
In the middle. So thanks for inviting me and UOB to join in. I'm the head of talent management and OD and employer branding. And as Shu stole my tagline, I do everything that the other parts of HR doesn't do, the strategy bits, culture. So essentially the main bulk of my work is in talent assessment, feedback coaching, how to do development, leadership development. I think that's really the crux of the stuff that I do. We do a lot of employer branding now. We reach out to students. We work with people like GRADUAN, and to reach out more, to improve our presence in the market, so to speak. What else do? I do culture. We are trying to become a increasingly more agile organization. We've been here for 71 years next year,
wow.
In Malaysia, UOB, not me. And so, so it's time to, look at how we can kind of merge the old and the new. How can we keep certain values as we move forward into a very digitalized world? Yeah. Thanks. Over back to you.
Thanks, Jean. I think from the introduction of the panelists, you can see that they cover quite a wide, diverse backgrounds, and also even from the years of experience that they have and the industries they've been in. I think I'll dive straight in, with the topic of future of work. I would like to ask Puan Malin to start off. Maybe you can just share with us a little bit more on, what does a digitally savvy workforce look like? Are there downsides, challenges to digitization?
Okay, so what does our digitally savvy workforce look like? I think for the past 1 year, it really helped to speed up future workforce, where a future workforce firstly has to be very connected, and everything is working on the go. I would see, we would see future workforce is like that, being resourceful, getting information all via online, and very highly connected, and more and more working on the go, I would think. And I think this past year is a testament that actually we can work and run business without being physically at the office. So I think it's more and more accepted, and that is for as employers also, being physically at the office doesn't equate to productivity. We can tell now that actually people can be productive while they are remotely based. So basically that. In terms of downside, with more and more digitalization, we are seeing more and more increase in terms of trying to protect our data, data privacy, and then cyber security. More and more, we have to remind ourselves and our employees, make sure we protect our information, make sure we protect our data, especially our customer data, since we are working from all over the place. And so that is very important, and a downside when something goes gets the ransomware and any cyber attacks, which we want to protect. Another downside is because we are highly connected, in terms of health wise, it become a techno stress when we suddenly get disconnected. When suddenly our internet banking is not working, we can't transfer money, and suddenly WhatsApp is not working, suddenly we can't look at our Facebook or our Instagram and things like that. So disconnectivity is also a downside of the day-to-day life now. Whenever I find that I can't, or customers can contact me to say, hey, how come I can't go to even just because I work with Maybank, sometimes my family will ask, hey, how come I want to transfer money to another bank? I cannot. So we can check on the social media. We can tell what's happening. Suddenly there's a lot of Twitter saying, why can't I do this, why can't do that, so disconnectivity is also a downside. We have to actually be very disciplined to try to disconnect sometimes, but I know the stress of being disconnected. Okay, I have to also try to disconnect myself from work, especially this past year where we are like work and non-work is like is getting blurred.
Yeah.
So basically, that's my input to that. Yeah.
I think because we get so attached, right? Yes.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Nada. I just wanted to add a little bit on the digital savvy workforce. Like one of the things like I'm seeing with my clients is that the skills that they are looking for is no longer very segregated into like, I'm a finance person and therefore I just need a finance degree. You're looking at there's additional soft skills that are coming into the play, so I no longer just look at the data around finance, but I also need critical thinking, problem solving, and then there's this now that I'm working from home, I need to be more self-managed as well, so all these are new skills. I mean, they were skills that were already there, but they are becoming more and more important as we go into the workforce,
Yes.
and you also see technical skills. Again, not just finance technical skills do I need, I also need other technical skills such as like, artificial intelligence coming in. So
Yeah.
I need to know a little bit about that so that it'll help me with my job, so it's no longer a clear cut, this is my degree and this is what I'm doing. There's other things that I also need to consider to make sure that I stay relevant in my job.
Yes, I agree.
Totally agree. Because I mean, expectations has also increased because you are now, since information and everything is so, in abundance. Digitization has also increased the expectations of someone to be more savvy and
Yeah, yeah.
to be more
Exactly.
qualified and in different aspects, right? But I mean, looking at the human element, I think we spoke about this, Ms. Shamini, the last time we connected about a week ago. I mean, one downside that all of us feel is just that, we miss our colleagues, we miss our friends, we miss the office, we miss going for lunch, simple things like that. But, hopefully, but I truly believe that, moving digital and the past year and a half, it has introduced us to more people in the organization, if anything, because you can reach people a lot quicker,
Yeah.
right? You can have quick calls, but it's just more of the human element a little bit that is.
Yeah. I think in everything that happens, there's always pluses and minuses. We just need to make sure that the pluses outweigh the minuses in any organization and anything that we're doing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your input. Just taking off of what Ms. Shamini mentioned about, AI coming up and everything, I'd like to ask Bing Siu, with your technical experience and everything, please, if you can share with us, with the current emerging technology, what excites you most and what is most important for all of us to at least have some basic knowledge in?
Okay, yeah, thanks. So for me, before I dive into the actual emerging technology that is kind of exciting to me and is really quite new out there, right? I just want to talk about technology and how it impacts us and the companies that we support. So for me, right, that's the most important thing, technology, right? Why is it there? It's meant to help us. It's meant to complement us. It's meant to, be for the good of humankind, I believe, right? That is the, I would say, my aspiration when I choose which company I work for, does it have the right value system? Because today it's not just about making money, it's also about the world that we live in. So I want to give two examples, right, of companies that drive change and keep up with changes with the latest that's going on, right, in terms of technology as well to help, right, people and in some of it the world. So one is Experian, where I'm coming from, right? Experian is a data information service company. One of its most basic products or support services is with regards to credit rating. Now, you and I, we all actually have credit ratings. So, to our aspiring folks out there who wants to buy, a car, buy a house or anything like that, right? You've got a lot of bankers on the call. You can reach out to them to try and get some help there. But the first thing that is checked is on your credit rating, So what is your credit score, right? And in a lot of the already developed countries, they don't have problems because, they are developed, right? However, in our part of the world today, right, like Southeast Asia, a lot of people are what is called unbanked, meaning, right, the, makcik that sells nasi lemak, or, someone that starts from not a core educational background, right? They may not have what a traditional bank looks for in credit worthiness, right? So I'm very excited that when you talk about future technology and all that, there's also these things like Experian, right? Offering and working with telcos, for example, to see, hey, how are and people out there who are the unbanked cannot open a bank account because in the traditional sense, never have a normal 9 to 5 salary, monthly salary and all that, use, right, their information like paying timely, prepaid, telco services, maybe utility bills and all that, in order to create a new form of credit data to enable them to have access to the more traditional forms of banking in the future. So isn't that exciting, using technology, using data, right? That's abundantly available out there to help humankind, especially in our part of developing world. That's one. The other type I want to use is, again, my affiliation with CPA Australia as well. When I was with them, right, they actually have thoughts about how to change their syllabus, right? You could be thinking about the basic degree, basic professional qualification and all that, but there are micro credentials today, right? So you can create micro credentials, maybe for a finance professional like us, right? For myself, CPA Australia, aspiring folks and all that. Not just about that, like Shamini said, it's about whether you also have that latest tech savviness as well. How do you then get that, right? You need to be able to get that through, like CPA Australia offers, data, right, as one of its micro credentials. So pursue that, get your certification so that that upskills you, right, in order for you to then be able to keep up with the latest technology, understanding of information and trends, right? So that moves me to what's the latest, sexiest thing out there that I personally think will be great, in the future years to come. I guess, I can't see the rest, right, of the participants, but I want to ask you all, how many of you when you are using your phone or using your laptop or trying to do your work, right, sometimes you all feel, why must lag? Why is it lagging? Why isn't it faster? Why can't the analysis be quicker? Things like that. Anyone out there who feels this way, maybe last week or last month, right? So I'm sure, most of us are. So the sexy, exciting thing that I think will come and rescue us in this place is quantum computing. Okay, so quantum computing is no longer like the traditional computers, right? That's out there, where programming and all that is in the one and zeros, right? Kinds of programming and processing. It is beyond that. It can co-work, right? So what I understand of it is, right, companies like Google, IBM, where I was from as well, they are now, right, developing this type of supercomputers that will make the speed 1,000,000 times faster, potentially. Okay, we're not talking about 10 times faster, so we're happy, right? It's supposedly 1,000,000 times faster, right? And it also will help with the complexities like analysis. So, for example, for me in the finance world today, we want to look at how can we put different types of analysis together, to come up with the best solution and recommendation, how do I project, right, future growth and all that. So the supercomputer, quantum computing, right, in the future is supposed to help us get there. So that's what I would like to leave you guys with, right? I think the studying of quantum computing in the future, right, will happen. It will happen more and more, just as data scientists were not a role that's available in the past. But today is the sexiest role out there. Everyone wants a data scientist in their company, right? Because you want to be able to use all these millions and billions of data out there, right? How in our own company, in our own life, how to use that, right? And translate that to useful information for us. Okay, so I hope that gives a little bit about perspective about technology, how it can help us, companies, us personally in our lives, right? As well as, the sexy super speed computer that will come in the future.
I cannot wait. I mean, like some of the way you're describing it, it's like all my problems will go away. I was trying to buy something online. I trying to get some balloons yesterday. It was just, I was wondering why it's so slow. And then I also, just echoing like what was mentioned earlier, because we become so dependent on things to happen fast that when it's a bit not as fast, we tend to question, why isn't it moving? Why isn't it moving? And then you refresh. I think it's become second nature to everyone. But thank you so much for your sharing. And I picked up, what you mentioned about micro credentials. I wanted to ask, Miss Shamini, with your, background in people and change, like, do you think the future of tertiary education is changing with the introduction of micro credentials and all of this, right? There's a lot of changes happening on that front. Do you believe that a formal education will still be relevant, in years to come or even now? What are your thoughts?
Nada, if you think about it, yes, I agree. Digital certs, online training, micro credentials, and all are actually growing, and they're growing at a fast pace.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, a formal education, your degree is
Yeah.
still relevant because it's your basic knowledge for whatever job that you're going to do. So that's definitely not going to change. You still need your basic degree, and then your digital certs, online training, and all that just supports you and takes you up the ladder, takes you through your career that you see happening.
Like
Okay,
upskilling.
these are all, yeah, it's like an upskilling that you will need to make sure that you remain relevant within any organization that you're going to. But that foundation, that the degree that you're doing is still going to be relevant.
Yeah.
And I like using me as an example. I mentioned just now, I've got a Bachelor of Business.
Yeah.
My majors were accounting and business computing. Am I using it? No, but it helped me start my career.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, at the level that I am now, finance has come back because I need to make sure my revenues are there. I need to make sure my cost and benefits and my people are as happy as I can make them.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of analysis coming in, and my debits and my credits and all that, I still remember them.
Yeah.
So you're never going to not use your degree. You're going to use it in some form or
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
So that is your foundation. And then anything and everything that you do after your degree is the pluses that will move you in the career path that you have chosen.
I
Okay.
think, Shamini, just to echo what you said, right? I think having a degree it's really about the discipline, right? Of going to school, synthesizing what the lecturers are throwing at you, and writing a paper, doing a project. This is all a discipline that you carry back into the workplace after that. If you like, you can look at your university years as your trial to the workplace. You need to collaborate with so many different people. You need to work with diverse types of people, and that is exactly the kind of experience you're going to get back at the workplace.
Yeah.
So I think that provides you like a foundation, if you like.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like a formal degree or like a university degree actually provides things beyond academics, right?
Agree.
Things like, like what echoing what Pejin said, like communication, or all the things that we value as employers as well, like all your participation in extracurricular things, which all mean something. Because they're all and I think we touched on this earlier as well, like transferable skills that you can take along with you for the rest of your career, right?
Yes.
And that is an important element of a formal university degree. At least physical, like where you're physically at school, that online training or an online micro degree or credential will not be able to provide.
Yeah. I totally believe, and agree with you, because I think your university years is also the years that you grow into who you will become, your adulthood. So there's a lot of experiences that you actually gain from there. Whether, especially if you were studying overseas, for example, it will be the first time that you actually have to live on your own, set up your electricity bill. Like, suddenly you have so much more responsibilities, and juggling all of that is one of the key skills as well. It's making new friends and all of that. Even locally, I think it doesn't change. These things are the same, but the whole experience of a university life is something that I recommend for everyone to go through. So speaking on that note about how it's important to actually have a full relevant degree, and then after that upgrade yourselves, I wanted to ask Shu, How do we develop that sense of urgency among talent right now to then upskill themselves? Do they feel that after I have my degree or have anything, like I am good to go? Is that the truth, or how is it out there, Shu?
Okay, yeah. Well, I will try to take this really, really short because I think we're short on time. I promise you I won't be selling you our latest products from Samsung. But I think with all seriousness, what I think that is lacking in the young generations this year, this past few years, is the sense of urgency, exactly like what Nada said. Um, I don't blame them. It is because of circumstances, because of your parents that is able to provide everything to you and for you. Therefore, it is a lot more difficult for you to take yourself out of that comfort zone and say that, look, I will try to fight for everything, that I'm supposed to fight for. Now, this sense of urgency cannot be taught. You need to experience it. And the best way to do that is to put yourself into a very uncomfortable position, taking challenges in life, taking up positions that you think that you will never take up, taking up subjects in universities that you think that you will probably fail. And in order for you to do that, or to shape yourself, or to get that sense of urgency, is to break down all the egos within you, and then you fail, and then you move on. Failing is very important. That's what I personally think. Young people these days don't fail enough, and they don't feel the failure. So therefore, when it comes to a challenging point in life, they are not as resilient as compared to the people back then. Now, I think I'd like to dial back a little bit. When we talk about future, we're looking at time in a very linear way, that we're looking for now from today until the future, which is tomorrow and beyond. And all the skills that is required when we say, oh yeah, future skills, we want analytical skills, we want people who can actually solve problems. Those are future skills. But if we can dial back a little bit, back in the times where Homo sapiens and Homo florensis hunting dinosaurs, when they created fire, it was technology. When they created knife from onyx, when they created hammer from stones, that was technology. And when you are technological adverse, you are averse in technology, you don't like technology, you don't like to learn new things, you will be obsolete. And you will be the Homo florensis that goes extinct. Now, I think the urgency is extremely important. Put yourself into very difficult positions, put yourself into uncomfortable positions in order for you to learn new things. And with that urgency, it will give you a little bit of edge when you come out to work in the future. And let me tell you this: your first forming years, that means your first company that you join, will create or will design you, will shape you into the person that you will be moving forward into your career. So choosing the right company to join is actually very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Especially your first few years, right? Because that company and the pace that you're working at will also create that momentum for you that will supposed to last you through your entire career, because you're used to the pace and the challenges that come with it. Thank you, Shu. I think that was a very nice explanation of the need for urgency. And now to my favorite site, Shopee. Sandra, I want to know, with the future of work changing how things are and how people behave, I think there's a question here is about whether physical retail stores will still be relevant as e-commerce expands and grows. Because e-commerce is growing at a very, very fast rate. And I think the pandemic has accelerated it so much within the past year. And do you think that there is a need for that balance where, you still go to physical stores, the whole experience of going out with your friend and, or do you think e-commerce is where the future is?
So I think it can't be denied that, a physical stores or like brick and mortar retail is in the midst of a massive disruption, right? It's closing in the hundreds, and we're hearing a lot of I personally feel quite sad stories of stores closing all the time. And the current pandemic certainly doesn't help the situation. But putting the pandemic aside, I do feel that physical stores will definitely still be around. There is a certain experience that a physical store gives that e-commerce definitely will not be able to provide. Like being able to physically interact with the product, right? See, feel, touch, smell. So the reality is that it's not that the brick and mortar stores will disappear, but rather they need to continue to adapt and transform their business models to integrate and mix online and offline, right? There's this hot term nowadays called the O2O environment. It's like online to offline environment, which is essentially to integrate everything to serve customers better, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that even Shopee is actively helping our sellers to do. Even though we are an e-commerce platform and people think that, actually, wouldn't we benefit if all the offline stores just shut down, right? But then that doesn't help the bigger community, the country, the economy, right? So how to exist both offline and online and how it can harmonize together is something that our team, or if you work in Shopee, like definitely something that you will touch on, particularly SMEs or even brands that maybe don't have their own online capabilities. So that's where we step in to mediate, right? And since we are on the topic of future workforce and digitalization and technology, I think more and more companies are also utilizing all these existing and emerging tech to enable this shift, right? And be it web technology, app technology like Shopee, like as an e-commerce platform, or even emerging tech, like Beng Siu was touching upon, quantum computing, right, for the future. How we can actually use this technology to create a new ecosystem where we all can exist together, right? One other emerging tech that I can think of is like AI. Someone mentioned earlier, like even today, a lot of students are needing to understand the concept of AI, or at least even if they are not an expert in it, have a brief understanding, because we are already starting to see that there are many practical uses of these kind of technologies in retail, in commerce, be it the likes of the cashierless shop, like how Amazon has in Seattle, right? And in fact, I'm starting to see more and more pop-up stores that are cashierless. I think I saw one in KL as well pre-pandemic, but I'm not sure how it's going now after 2 years. But yeah, I think it's an evolving thing, and it's definitely something that needs to exist in harmony.
Yeah. Thanks, Sandra, for that view. I feel that where Shopee comes in this equation as well with the future of work is that, I'm buying from retailers that I would not have known of or purchased from. As in, if when I wanted to buy something, for example, I will just go to where I'm used to and convenient for me. So I think the fact that what Shopee has actually done is created opportunities for brick and mortar stores in general that I would never have approached, from Puchong, from Kedah, or from anywhere, but to get me something that would fit my need.
It's like a new marketing channel to a certain extent.
And it helps them as well, because on a normal day, I don't think I would enter that store just naturally, because I just assume that they don't have what I want or something like that. So
it's just easier to also click on a button as opposed to drive all the way to Puchong, for example, to see
I won't
store.
go to Puchong at all. As in, it's not a territory that I'm
Hope no one is staying in Puchong.
No, I mean, my usual, my usual places, and look, if it's not there, then okay, I guess it's not. So, I mean, just from my experience, I was planning my son's birthday, and then suddenly my husband's like, oh, you're not going to do, give his friends gifts, like goodie packs. And I managed to complete all of that in just half an hour, 1 hour. Everything was just done, and it's delivered to my house. It's safe. Everything's prepared. And naturally, I wouldn't have purchased these things from these stores. I wouldn't have known of them. So I think it's a good thing.
Yes, for sure.
If I may just if I may just add on, right? I think this sense of curiosity, because in the past we are not so curious because we don't know, and then we think we don't have access. But I want to apply it to the professional world as well. So for me, it's like being curious as to what's there in Shopee, for example. things that you never knew you could buy and use, right? You now know, right? But apply that to the actual workplace, because curiosity, your sense of curiosity, your sense of wanting to know what else is out there,
Yep.
right? Whereas, if you just see what you could see and limit yourself accordingly, you'll not progress, right?
Yes.
So it's the continuous thought of improving, because I think a lot of our audiences are basically, you are so tech savvy compared to us on the call, that you're looking at today. I'm very sure. But, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to use that knowledge and tech savviness that you have, right? To apply that curiosity to your workplace, whichever company you're going to work in the future, whatever you're going to work in the future, right? So I think that will be what's going to differentiate the successful, from the, normal guy out there.
I 100% agree with you. I speak with a lot of talents. Speaking on the Australia Career Fair, sometimes there are conversations about, I don't want to come home. I think everything is good in Australia, but they're not curious enough to find out what's there back home. The opportunities here are abundant. There's so much technology that's moving, and Malaysia is growing in that direction so rapidly. And it's a waste if we're not curious enough or inquisitive enough to find out for ourselves, like what Shu said, have that urgency, make mistakes, look for things, and you never know what you end up with. So being curious is a very good trait. You're right, Bingsiu. That's nice.
I think also to add on to the conversation that's going on, if you think about it, like my parents, my father is in his 80s now, and I've got uncles and aunts who are in their 90s and so on.
Yeah.
The life that they had was very much simpler than the life that I had growing up, and then now I look at my nephews and nieces who some have just started working, some are still studying and so on. What they do, like half the things that they know, I'm like, are you kidding? You're 15 years old. You're not supposed to know things like that. It's like ridiculous. They're growing up way too fast.
Yeah.
And the downside to that, going back to what Marlene was saying, the downside to that is they grow up too fast. And by the time they reach like their 20s, they're like, I know everything. I don't need to learn anymore. I don't need to listen to you because I know more than you. And that barrier then is there. So and I always tell my team, I'm in my 50s. My team members are young enough to be my children. I've got some of them. So that generational gap, sometimes I'm looking at them and going, are you speaking English? Because I really don't understand what they're saying sometimes, but the bottom line is, I always tell my team, the minute you stop learning, please look for another job or go look for another skill and don't leave me. But continue learning. Even today, like me, the minute I stop learning, I get bored. You must constantly learn, because if you stop learning, you will get bored with life. So that learning, your education, your upskilling, your reskilling is what will sustain you and cause you to move up the ladder.
In the long run, right?
Yeah, in the long run.
And Shamini, you're absolutely right? It doesn't mean that you and I will stop learning. Actually, we also to this time, right? And through the years that we've been working, we continue to learn. I think we will become irrelevant, if we don't learn ourselves, right?
Yes,
so it's
exactly.
a continuous journey, it will never end. If we want to be relevant.
Yeah, true. I'm going to direct the question next to Jin. Hi, Jin.
Hi.
Just wanted to know, from your perspective, how do you see the future of work playing out, maybe in UOB, and what do you think we can do to improve it in general, basically?
That's quite a loaded question. I think across the board, people need to encapsulate what everyone has said so far, which is a growth mindset. You can't stop learning. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. and consistently being curious. And a lot of it, especially for all the young graduates out there, right? You may think, wow, all this sounds very canggih, I don't have these skills yet. So what do I do? Well, one of the things you got to do, I think, is really to attract people to want to teach you as well. Yes, you can go learn as well, but when it's application time, right, you have to be open enough, humble enough for people to give you feedback when you're doing something, learning it. You can't get it right the first time. If you do, that's called very lucky. More often than not, we may get it wrong, but it's a learning process. So just stay open. And I think as an organization, we also are trying to do that more and more. Leaders need to really empower their people more, build that kind of trust with their people. You can't use the old method of ensuring every person is sitting at their workplace and then only you can consider them as having done their jobs.
Yeah.
You need to start measuring outcomes. You need to really connect with them at every level. As Shamini said, sometimes you say, hey, what you're speaking? Is it English? To me, that's very fascinating also. Sometimes, actually most of the time, my team members are teaching me how to post stuff, and they're teaching me all kinds of new abbreviations. So I will use it to go and, score some points with my 11-year-old. Otherwise, mom is like so old school, So I think everyone needs to constantly learn is the message. And as an organization, we provide a lot of digital training, future skilling. There are lots of programs that we have, award-winning programs in UOB. But at the end of the day, after you learn it, what do you do with the skills that you've learned? You need to go apply it, right? The actual application and collaboration with others, working with people. At the end of the day, that is the most important thing. So I think future of work is here. We are going to be working 2 days from home after the pandemic. We have a flexible work policy now, so everyone is looking forward to that. But there's definitely something that you've got to give. The engagement is going to be a bit not as tight as it used to be. So how do we stay connected? So there are some things that we still need to tweak, I think. But definitely the future is here.
Yes, much faster than we expected, I think.
Yeah.
So thank you so much to all the panelists and your input. I'm going to open it to the questions. So we've been receiving questions nonstop, actually, from when we started. So I'm just going to pick a few and open it to everyone. Just chime in and see where, you think you can contribute best. So there's someone who's actually asking that, from Nol Alia. So she's saying that as the working environment is moving towards digitization, what are initiatives taken by companies, well, I guess she's referring to your own companies, where to ensure that employees do not lose the human touch when incorporating the use of technology? I guess this is especially particular for fresh graduates, when they come into the organization, and they've never even met their superiors or their bosses and everything because of how the pandemic has, shifted things. Any advice, or what are some of your organizations doing to make sure that everyone's, tight?
I think there's a lot more collaboration that's happening now. You have a lot more, like previously when we were in the office, I practice an open door policy, so the team can walk into my room anytime they wanted. I go up to them and have that chat, but because that's not happening, it's via MS Teams now. I've actually lost touch with some of my team members, and that's very bad. So what I've had to do is, one of the things I try to do is at least 2 to 3 times a week, I get everyone in the team to get together via Teams, talk to each other, either it's serious stuff or just do like, we've had like the other day, what were we playing? We were playing we were playing Boggle online, and so I scored 15, which I thought was quite good. I don't know, everyone else, when I said I scored 15, everyone else was scared to tell me what their score was. So I don't know what the others got, but at the end of the day, you need to have that additional things that are happening, and because it's online, that human touch needs to happen as well. Like this t-shirt I'm wearing now, it's got KPMG on one side and my name on the other side. That's also it's an initiative that KPMG has done. They've given everyone this t-shirt, a nice coffee mug with our names and KPMG on it, to make sure that we remember that we belong to KPMG. So all these little things, that human touch needs to be there. It's a virtual touch now, but what does that look like to the organization?
And
Thank
just
you.
to add on to that as well, I think that as much as the manager is responsible for making sure that the team gets together, I think the organization also can do things to enable this, right? Like for example, in Shopee, we make sure that each team utilizes like a quarterly team building fund that we provide, so that instead of just playing a online game, you could actually invest into an experience, even if it's virtual. Like I've done candle making with my team, so then they just send the kit to the house, right? And then everyone sort of does it in their own house, but it's at least there's a physical
Togetherness,
portion to it, right? Where you're actually doing something and not just looking at a computer screen. So those are the things that I think we've kind of adapted to the current situation. But once we go back to the office, or once things get better, I'm sure all the previous activities or engagement that we used to do will keep people engaged and not just constantly facing the screen all the time.
Yeah. I also just want to quickly add on, right? While everything Shamini and Sandra said very relevant, but I think make sure that you're joining a company that will help you on a daily basis. Make sure that there is that personal connection as much as possible, right? So, for example, in Experian, we have been working completely remote, right? Since the pandemic started. For most of the months, even when the office opened, most people didn't want to go in, not comfortable, right? So a lot of our new hires, right, have been transitioning work remotely, virtually. So you would think in the old world that's impossible. How can you transfer work with each other, when you're not seeing each other, showing a piece of paper or sharing the screen on the laptop. But with the technology available to enable that, right, I think the human touch of the person that's transitioning with you, of your manager that's still checking in with you, even though, not seeing you face to face, virtually messaging you, how are you today? Anything I can help? The person that you're working with, connecting with you to say, hey, did you get that? Do you need any help? And that is a continuous basis, because I have had roundtables, with my new hires to check in on how they are, especially in this kind of a virtual world. And you need very good teammates, right, to be able to give you that sense of belonging and sense of connecting, even though it's virtual. So I think it can be done. It's just choose the right organization that is there that will enable you, right, to have that kind of sense of belonging as well, right? Hopefully, when things get back more to normal, of course, the more physical types of connection will happen, right? But I think we do need to ensure that there is still that form of continuous connection virtually.
Thank you, everyone. So we have a question here where they say, earlier on, you guys were mentioning how data scientist is the sexiest role right now. Everyone wants, to have a data scientist in the organization. Everyone wants to be a data scientist. It's just, the buzz nowadays. So the question is, do you think data scientists will still be relevant in 10 years? Or, what can jobs what kind of jobs do you think will still be relevant, in years to come? Will this, will we go through another revelation where different jobs come out, different jobs are created, more jobs will be obsolete? What do you guys feel?
Yeah. For me, right, maybe I can start. I think it will evolve, right? As times change, as new technologies come on board, right, it will evolve. The traditional accounting job has evolved, right, from 50 years ago to 30 years ago to now, right? So my view is it will evolve. Data scientists, maybe it will change the name. Now you also hear of data analysts, right? So it will evolve, but the fact that we are also connected to technology, and technology, the use of it, every time we buy Shopee data, Shopee captures the data of what product we are buying, right? So every time any of us use technology, messaging each other, right, it creates a pool, a gold mine, right, of information that will need to be looked at, will need to be analyzed, will need to be mined, right, to get the best information from it in order for organizations and us to be able to use it more effectively, right, to do good, to sell more, right, whatever it is. So for me, it will evolve, right? But data is out there, it won't go away, right? So I think it will be there for some time.
I think to add on to what Beng Siu was saying, at the end of the day, there are certain jobs that you can see that are definitely going to be relevant in the future. But like I mentioned just now, and even what Beng Siu was saying, these jobs are going to evolve. So you cannot just rely and say, like for me, the computing languages that I learned 30, 35 years ago, it's obsolete now. So if I had decided to pursue my IT part of my degree, I would have had to need to constantly study to make sure that the languages that are being used now, I understand them and I know them, and therefore I'm able to stay relevant to the job that I'm doing. And like that, whether you've got a degree in data science or data, whatever it is, you cannot say, well, I've got the degree and now I'm set for life. You need to constantly evolve. You need to constantly make sure that you are up to speed on the various technology that is coming in so that you can extract whatever is needed and remain relevant in your workforce.
Even in terms of career planning, right? We used to ask people, what do you want to be 10 years from now? I don't think we should be asking that question anymore. We should be asking people, what do you want to be 3 to 5 years from now? And constantly scan the horizons for the changes. That's why it's a constantly learning environment, right? You can't say I'm a data scientist, full stop. I'm an HR specialist, full stop. There is no full stop. It's just a comma, right? So
I'm just going to jump in for a very quick one from a technology company view per se. Samsung is no longer hiring data scientists. We are no longer hiring data analysts. That was 5 years ago. We are hiring economists who can do data. We are hiring psychologists that can do data. We're hiring sociologists that can actually do data, because technology without context is rubbish.
Yeah.
Skype came about 20 years ago, but it wasn't used extensively until the past 18 months. Zoom took off in the past 18 months. And without context, technology is useless. So what we want to create, when we use data, we wanted to use it, to use it in context. So therefore, we don't want data scientists that looks at data only. We want people who, are subject matter experts that can actually translate data into something useful. So that's why we're doing it, because data, understanding of data, the perception of data, the ability to use data is becoming, a hygiene level right now. That means it is a must. Without data, you are irrelevant. Yeah.
It's about having insights, right? More than just knowing data.
Yeah.
I will echo Shu and say that that's also the style of hiring that we are doing now. Even account manager, that historically I think is a more sales dominated role, right? It's expected to be able to, at least understand how to write some Excel formulas or, Google Sheet formulas to be able to digest and speak some numbers with the clients, right? And it's really a hygiene level today. But it's a Google generation now. And like we say, as long as you are curious and motivated to actually pick up all these new skills, anything can be Googled. You don't need to have a PhD, right, in this particular topic. It's really just about being curious enough to find, learn some new things and then apply that into your daily work. Right?
Yeah. I just want to bring that together for our audience, right, who I think are mostly graduates. Here I am, you think I have this basic qualification, right? So what does this mean? Actually, what it means is you don't have to have a data scientist qualification, though that could help. Even if you have a data scientist qualification, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about going into your next profession, whichever industry that you're going into, and applying that knowledge to the industry and being able to pool all the information together and business knowledge of the industry that you're in as well, to then grow your skills, continue to remain curious, right? And therefore, it's not about, like we said just now, stopping and learning with your degree and that's it. It's a continuous thing, right? You can add and build on that skills, right, with the basics that you have. But find a company that will enable you to do that continuous learning and growth and learning business environment, creating that insights, because your environment needs to facilitate you to be able to grow that skills.
Yeah. Thanks, Bing Siu. I think this also answers the question that they were asking. This, I think, will be the final question where they ask, from your experiences and observations throughout the years, what are skills and characteristics that the upcoming generation seems to be lacking or should put more focus on in order to be prepared for, the future of work and what they will be working on basically when they join. Anyone else wants to add on that? What should they, what is currently lacking? And what should they focus more on?
I think
I
sorry, Bing Sui, go ahead. So I was just
so-
going to say, like, at the end of the day, I think we've pretty much covered that. There's a lot of things like don't just focus on technical, you also need your soft skills. That's number one.
Yeah.
And as far as technical skills, we've heard things like AI, data science, all that then become relevant. So don't just focus on your degree, but focus on the newer skills that are coming out, and then you've got like your self-management, critical thinking, problem solving, which are all then going to become relevant. So your degree plus all these newer skills that are coming into play.
Yeah, and I wanted to add exactly, Shamini, it's the soft skills as well, because you start with the basics of a more technical environment as you start your job and your career. But if you are going towards a leadership, management, kind of a profile, right, as you want to grow in your career, the soft skills actually will bring you and carry you further, right, than the pure technical skills. So the knowing how to work well with each other, knowing how to communicate, knowing how to, understand personalities, navigating with difficult stakeholders, difficult employees, difficult peers, right? How to make sure that we are well understood, not like Shamini, don't understand what I'm saying in my English, right? So these are the most important things, I think, once you build the base, right, to, work on, right? And as we want to continue to climb up the ladder.
Okay.
If I can just say, I hope this doesn't contradict what we've been saying, but to a certain extent, sometimes I think it's not about the skill, it's more about the attitude. Because ultimately, I mean, especially fresh graduate, right? When I was a fresh graduate, I also don't really know what I wanted. I kind of wanted to explore, right? Find jobs that will give me exposure in lots of different areas, which is not wrong, right? Sometimes you don't really know what you don't know. Hence, having the specific technical skills or specific skills, whatever those skills may be, is not really key, but rather to have the right attitude of wanting to learn, wanting to adapt, and to grow alongside the organization that you choose to join is more important.
Yeah, that was what I was going to add as well in terms of the attitude, because skills and knowledge, we can train you in whatever position actually. So that's why I think, I'm sure in all the other panel companies as well, we accept any degrees if you want to join the bank. Once you're in, we will then train you. But the attitude must be, you must have the, learning agility. You want to learn, and you cannot be like, oh, I know everything already. I have a degree. When can I be promoted? That kind of attitude, the entitlement attitude. Oh no. And you must be able to work with people, like Beng Siu mentioned. that is very important. So that's why I think similar to what Sandra mentioned just now, we do look at people who are active during their studies. They're not just, they're not just book smart, get 4.0 and things like that. We also look at, how active they are in other things beyond studies, because from our experience, if they are, when they meet with us, they have more things to share, and they have more experience dealing with people, working with teams, which is also important to us, because that is very important once you are in the work life. You cannot avoid dealing with people, dealing with difficult situations and how you maneuver it. And you have to be resourceful as well. Don't expect that A, B, C, D, E, we tell you what to do. You have to be resourceful. You have to also have the initiative. Yeah. I think that's what I think is important for the young people out there. Yep.
Dito, Sandra and Marlene.
I mean, I 100% also agree. Same with Shu and all of you, because I work with so many young people, right? And it's been, I think, 15 to 17 years that I've actually done this. So I've seen 17 versions of fresh graduates as we organize these fairs. A lot. It used to start off when I still looked like one of them, but now I think I don't anymore.
You still do.
Yeah, you still do.
But I've seen it change quite drastically over the years, but it's also, we can't generalize. I agree with that as well. It's up to the individual. And that's why we're here today to share. And just to recap, I think future of work is here and it's here to stay, and it will continue to evolve, over the years. So one key thing everyone, needs to know is that they have to be agile in a sense where don't be afraid when things change in front of you, or what you expected to happen didn't happen, and suddenly something else, you're in another role or something. Be open. These skills that, data scientists, being able to understand numbers, these are things that you should know already. So if your journey to look for the perfect job takes a bit longer, use that time to then, upskill yourself, go to open learning, go to any online, get some micro credentials, prepare yourself in the front of, the skills and qualifications part. But no one can teach you to have a good attitude. That one, it needs to come from within. But we all agree, I think all the panelists together with me agree that, to me, that's number one. Because how easy you are to work with as a person also plays a very big role about how you grow in your career, how much people like you, how they enjoy working with you. And I think humility is also very important, and unfortunately sometimes it gets lost, not intentionally, but it just happens because of circumstance or situations. So I wanted to end off by saying thank you to all our panelists. I think you've given very, very honest feedback, which we all appreciate.
Sorry, I think just as a point, right, about keeping an open mindset, having this right attitude, right? Perhaps one thing you can start doing is really to seek out alternative views and opinions, because collaboration, great ideas, innovation, agile, it all comes from diverse viewpoints. True. If you start today, do not be afraid of that and just listen. You don't have to agree, but just explore, listen, read more widely on different topics, different viewpoints. I think that will really open your mind and prepare you for what is to come. Yeah, sorry, back to you, Nada.
Oh, that's a good point, because like you said, you don't have to agree with everything that, but you have to be open to agree, to disagree, or anything in that sense, right? So just before we end off, I just wanted to say thank you once again, and to all our graduates, good luck in your job search, internship search, or if you want to upskill yourself. Well, now we know that upskilling there's no two ways about it. You have to continue learning, whether it's in coding, whether it's in cycling, learning a new hobby. It doesn't really matter, but you need to constantly upgrade yourself. So with that, I wanted to sign off. Thank you so much from Team GRADUAN and all our fantastic speakers today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.